Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is a virtual Board of Selectmen meeting. We're using the Zoom conferencing format. The webinar ID is 991-9329-5359. The board previously met in executive session with our town attorney and there was no action taken. Sorry for being a little late. Well, a lot late.
Don't worry, we rubbed it in while you guys were in there.
Item 3, approve the September 10th meeting.
So moved. Second.
I have a first and a second. I'm going to do a roll call. Sheila?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Alan says aye. Public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with any issue that is not on the agenda. Is there any hands raised?
Jim McMahon has his hand up.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we
Sure.
can.
How you doing, Jim?
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everyone. I just want to take the opportunity. I sent a letter to Lori, or it was an email, for her to review, as well as the Board of Selectmen, regarding the short-term rental discussion and proposed ordinance. So I just want to have the opportunity in the public forum just to read that letter, so everybody that's this is televised, so they can at least hear it. So I'll just read it. James McMahon, 38 Goose Rocks Road, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046, dated September 23rd, 2020. To the Board of Selectmen and Town Manager, I am writing to you as a representative of a large group of individuals regarding the short-term rental discussion and proposed ordinance. In 2018, issues such as noise and trash complaints were identified as a means for the Board of Selectmen to orchestrate the short-term rental discussion and called for a subcommittee to begin drafting up an ordinance. A large group of individuals, not in favor of the ordinance, came to the subcommittee meetings and questioned the issues that justified the proposed ordinance and provided factual reasoning to not follow through with an ordinance. The short-term rental survey conducted in 2018 also confirmed that the residents did not have an interest in pursuing a short-term rental ordinance. We believe it is necessary to understand the new baseline of issues that have been presented itself after the conclusion of the 2008 discussion in order to necessitate the discussion of the short-term rental ordinance that is being worked on again. Please refer to the 9/13/2020 Board of Selectmen meeting, page 4, Section 9, paragraph 2, where it was discussed that the recommendation that no regulation be put in place. Can you provide all the documented email, text, mail, phone correspondence that has transpired and documented filed since 2018 that is directly related to the issues with short-term rental? This would include the following. 1, issues and/or complaints from short-term rental presented to the town staff and Board of Selectmen. 2, issues and/or complaints from short-term rentals presented to the Kennebunkport Police Department. 3, all monitored and documented material of short-term rentals and impacts on the community. Please refer to 9/13/2020 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes, page 4, Section 9, paragraph 2. It was referenced that the Board of Selectmen had charged the town staff with continuing to monitor the rentals and further define the actual impacts of the community. 4, any other pertinent information that has been collected and documented at the request of the public, town staff, and Board of Selectmen as it pertains to short-term rentals. If we are provided with all this information, it would help us understand why the Board of Selectmen are choosing to pursue the ordinance again. Currently, the only justification for the ordinance has been discussed is the individual interests of the members of the Board of Selectmen. Per our phone conversation with the town manager a week ago, Lori mentioned that the Board of Selectmen was working with the town attorney on the details of some of the ordinance. it would be helpful to all of us if the Board of Selectmen consider pausing on their efforts of drafting up the actual ordinance and concentrate on providing the public with the details asked above. Lori also mentioned that the short-term rental discussion will not commence again until October 8th. So this would provide ample time for the town and the Board of Selectmen to gather all the information to provide to the public in order to digest and then prepare to discuss further in the October meetings. Respectfully, James McMahon, 207-205-2770. That's the end of the letter. I just also want to add that I followed up an email with Lori just to pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act to, have that addressed and get all the information. So thank you very much for the opportunity to read that.
So we'll go ahead and get as much of this as we possibly can to you. I can't tell you a time frame. Maybe Lori can, but I can't.
It's just, again, just digest the letter. It would be helpful to have all the information so at least we know where you're coming from and justifying the action.
Well, we'll get you everything that we have. How's that? But I just can't tell.
Yeah,
Lori, can you hear me?
I can. I would say that one question I had about your letter was that you reference a September 13, 2020 Selectmen's meeting, but September 13th is a Sunday and we didn't have a Selectmen's meeting on September 13, 2020.
Okay. Let me look at that. That was probably the meeting that was around there. What I did is I went on the website and I looked at the meeting notes. So what I can do is follow up on an email with you where that was referenced. So it referenced the initial discussion, I think that Ed brought up.
Yeah, well, maybe you could just check that date.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's either the third, well, whatever the date is around that. It might have been, was there a meeting on the 10th?
There was a meeting on, the last meeting we had was September 10th.
Yeah, let me go back and look at that. Thanks for pointing that out. I may have, it could have possibly be August 13th. I may have thought I was in September.
Yeah, I didn't go back and look at, because I wasn't sure where to look to reference this, so.
Was there a meeting on August 13th?
There was a meeting on August 13th, yes.
Yeah, so I would, if you're gonna go back and I will go back and look, but I would guess that that's probably it. That was probably
Okay.
me thinking it was September. So thanks for pointing that out.
Are we all set? Is there any other? Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Is there any other hands up?
And McCabe.
I didn't hear. Who? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to reiterate just for a moment the points, not necessarily enumerate them, but just say to you all that we would be very pleased to have the information that James McMahon stated in his letter, regardless of which meeting it was. I'm sure we'll find out which one that was. Mistakes are made by all of us. But that the only way we can really make good decisions is to make sure that we're armed with all the information we can possibly be armed with. And in order to make sure that we're addressing everyone's need in the entire town and not just a few people that are complaining, so that we can benefit the entire town. And once we have all that information, we'll be able to know for sure if there are any big issues at all, whether those could be addressed in maybe a different way. Maybe they'll have to be addressed going forward in a manner that might work best for all, but we won't know that. And if we assume that just the few complainers are correct and they know exactly what we should do for our town, then I'm thinking we're not making a good decision. And we want to be part of the decision as the group of people that are most concerned about making the town as good as it can be. And that's how we feel, that we want to support the town, make the town better, and work with all the people in the town and not just people that are going to say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. What do you like? And how can we make it better? How can we have everyone benefit? Ed, you mentioned the lobster. I can't tell you how many people bought lobsters this summer, you know? It's just the way it is. That's Maine. That's Kennebunkport, right? So, you know, people come to Maine to eat lobster. They just do. That's one of the things I do all the time too. And so we all benefit by what goes on with the group. And if there's a few, you know, people that need to be spoken to either way, we do that. And we don't take it and paint everybody with the same brush. And we look at this in a very methodical fashion. And if we can do that, we would be most appreciative of the effort that you all make, that you make all the time anyway, and we appreciate that for sure. But that if you can help us to really understand why this came up now and what's the supporting evidence, we would really like to understand. And if we can do anything to help you with that, we would be happy to. And we certainly would love to be part of the process. Thank you so much for listening to me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Any more hands up?
No.
Okay. Moving along, item 5, public hearing to adopt the MMA model ordinance GA appendices A through H for the period October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021. Is Allison around? Oh, there she
I'm
is.
here.
How are you?
Allison,
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Kenaway, the Director of Public Health for the town of Kennebunkport, and one of my jobs is the administrator of the state mandated general assistance program for the town. And every year, the state analyzes each town and each county to determine the maximum amount of assistance a person can qualify for those who have minimal income and assets, and using fair market rental value in our town. As mandated by the state, Kennebunkport votes yearly to accept these maximums set by the state. So the overall maximums for an individual or a family in, you guys have the appendixes all in front of you, I think.
Yeah.
Appendix A and the food and housing allowances in Appendix B and C all increased this year for the 2021 fiscal year over last year. And while the maximums from the Appendix D through F, or the basic needs, have not changed from last year. And basic needs covered through general assistance are utilities, electricity, heating, fuel, personal care, and household supplies. Burial maximums for both burials and cremations had no change from last year.
So can I ask a question on that? What is the allowance for that?
For which part? There's a whole bunch.
Well, for the burials.
$1,400.
I'm sorry?
$1,475.
Yes. It's not a whole lot.
Okay. Just kidding, I didn't
Well,
see
more
it.
than what we get,
What's that?
more than what we get.
The cremation maximums are only about $1,000.
It's $1,025. Yes.
won't
Thank you.
get you very far.
Usually there's some
It'll- in the
arrangements made with the funeral home prior to. They are aware that the situation is going to be general assistance, so.
I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing for any comment. Is there anybody with their hands up? No hands up. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And would like to hear a motion.
I'll make a
Make-
motion
Second,
that we approve it as submitted.
Okay, you guys have no questions, correct?
No,
Okay. I have a first, I have a second. I'm gonna take a roll call vote. Sheila,
aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries. Thank you, Allison.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
You
Good night.
too.
Okay, item 6, discussion of the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee recommendation to place a stop sign at the intersection of Kings Highway and Dyke Road.
So I thought I might promote Chief Sanford. And I know Richard Driver, Chair of the Goose Rock Speech Committee, is in the attendees. Would you like to promote him as well, or?
Yes, please.
I think we lost
Ah.
it.
Hi, Richard.
There we go.
Richard, you're muted. Hi, Chief.
Hello, Chief.
And we're waiting for Michael.
David, are you promoting Mike Claus, or?
I see his name on the screen.
There he goes.
There he is,
Mike,
And-
you're muted.
muted. There we go.
There he is. There, the gang's all here. Okay, we're
Here.
ready.
So the Goose Rock Speech Advisory Committee met on August 30th, and one of the actions they took was the recommendation to put either a 2 or 3-way stop at the intersection of Kings Highway and Dyke Road. We had a on-site meeting, I think it was about a week afterwards. And Chief Sanford and Mike Claus and Richard Driver, as well as Mike Weston, were all present at that meeting. We looked at the pros and cons. Basically, one concern about a stop sign at Dyke Road is it would require the removal of probably at least three parking spaces. And one of those is one of our handicap spots that has enough space in it for a ramp to come out of the side. The other challenge is, of course, visibility of stop signs. It is a intersection that has challenges with a crosswalk that crosses from the general store over to the west side of Kings Highway and then over to the Dyke Road entrance. Another option was to just put another stop sign at the east side of Kings Highway. Currently, there is one on the west side of Kings Highway. One benefit that was mentioned was that at least it might give people a chance to slow down and stop before they take a right onto Dyke Road, and so to gain better visibility about people in the crosswalk. There are no accidents reported at that location, so we couldn't really go back to accident history. So that's a brief summary, but you have 3 people here who could also give you your opinion on the matter.
Richard, why did you guys believe that this was warranted? Could you enlighten us?
Sure. There were a few people who posed questions to Carol Sherman and other members of the Beach Advisory Committee about rights of way, and articulated a concern about the intersection. The intersection is kind of a strange configuration.
Yeah, it's not really an intersection in the conventional sense, is it?
No, but those coming from the east end have the right of way to go across to the west end.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people coming down Dyke Road think that if they're going to the left, that it's just a continuation of Dyke Road. They don't turn signals, they don't slow down, they don't stop. And people coming from the east when they turn that corner, the crosswalk is sort of halfway between the last house on the east end and the general store. And you really don't have a line of sight for someone who is just stepping off the curb and into that crosswalk. So even if it's the seasonal mileage of 20, you still have the car moving pretty quickly around a curve to Dyke Road, right where there's a crosswalk. And I know the chief commenting on it, I believe had one incident where he said, it's just a close call if you're paying attention, but your line of sight is just not there. So we have two issues. One is the crosswalk, and the other is clearly if there is an accident, somebody from the east end comes and goes straight across, and somebody's coming from Dyke Road, making a left onto Kings Highway. The one who is on Kings Highway from the east end has the right of way, and the person from coming down Dyke Road has no clue as to who has the right of way. And I know I've heard it here, and this is not my first rodeo in terms of public appointments or election, and I've heard it. We haven't had an accident, so why are we fixing something where there has not been an accident? And I would tell you, I can't abide that rationale. If you know that there's a problem, you fix it before there's an accident, not after you have an accident. And this clearly is an issue. Lousy intersection with, and we have more and more people coming into Goose Rocks who are not familiar with Goose Rocks. We just the out-of-staters and what have you. The locals know the road, and they know the issue, and that they're more careful.
Well, Richard, I have to disagree with you that in your favor that, I've been down there hundreds, if not thousands of times in my life, and I never realized that, the people coming from the east end had the right of way if they wanted to continue down Kings Highway to the west end.
Mhm.
So perhaps, I would tend to agree with you, at least, and we were told about this the other day and asked to go down and take a look, and regretfully, I haven't had the time to do so, but I can picture it in my mind. I would agree that putting a stop sign on the east end,
Yeah.
looking west would make sense. I think it would make more sense and be more feasible than putting one at the end of Dyke Road.
Oh,
I'm not in
you
favor
couldn't
of
put
putting
one
it on a Dyke Road.
Dyke
What's that,
Road
Alan?
is-
I'm not in favor of putting one on the Dyke Road.
I
No.
don't think we
You have
can without
you
a
have good
lot of
visibility.
extra.
You have good
work.
visibility there.
Yeah.
I have no problem if you guys want to put one on the east side of the Kings Highway. I have no
Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
perfect,
Mike, what do you think? You must have been at the meeting.
I was, and I had this discussion with Richard. I'm the one who probably said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But, while we were there, Chief was there and so forth, a car came by, and I think he saw us on the road and sort of went on the wrong side of the road and so forth. And then there were people who were walking and from the west end of Kings Highway to the east end. And it looked to me like they were confused about where they didn't use the crosswalk. They just crossed over and then walked down a bit and then crossed over. But that crosswalk, the more I looked at it, and it's really confusing. And
Are you talking about the one going across Dyke Road?
diagonally across.
Yeah,
Goes to the right of way to the beach, doesn't it, Mike?
Yes, it does. And it's coming around the corner there, I could see, and I can see after being there that nobody's stopping and somebody in the crosswalk, there is not a lot of visibility. I mean, not enough warning for somebody. So I think somebody stopping there makes sense. I didn't in the beginning, but I think it does.
Yeah. Craig, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have any thoughts you'd like to share with us about putting a stop sign on the east end, on the west? I don't even know how to describe that. Coming west from the east end of Kings Highway.
I think it makes sense because I think there would be a question of who has right of way there if there were an accident. But you know, that intersection is no different than all the cross streets that go from Wildwood over to Kings Highway as well. None of them have stop signs either. So, but I think that one is very important that, you know, you put a stop sign there because there is lack of visibility when somebody is in the crosswalk because of the trees that are in that area.
Well, I make a motion we do it unless somebody
Well,
wants to
Don't we
discuss.
have to have a public hearing on this?
Yeah, if you're so inclined, we'd have to advertise that
Okay.
you are looking to amend the traffic ordinance, and then we'd have a public hearing on it.
No. Do we need a motion to have a public hearing, or can we just say that we're going to have a public hearing?
I think if you make a motion for us to, you know,
No.
move forward
move
with
we-
the amendment,
Yeah, I
we'll,
moved it.
we'll,
I'm
we'll-
sorry, Lori.
we'll publish the public notice.
Okay, well, I moved just what Lori said.
I have a
Second.
first. I have a second. Okay. So I'm going to take a roll call. Sheila,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yes. Thank you, Richard.
You.
So we're gonna keep Mike Claus up on the screen.
Good night, Chief.
Thanks, Craig.
Craig will be back, don't worry. He's
Oh.
coming.
coming back.
That's right.
Okay, item 7, discuss next steps for the development of a trail at village parcel.
Oh, I see that you have a hand up.
What's that?
Jim McMahon.
Okay. Yes.
He's muted.
Can you hear me?
We
Yep.
can't.
Yeah, I put my hand up, but you guys are busy doing work, which is good. I was wondering if there was any discussion in the use of a yield sign, if but not to create another problem of congestion of people leaving the beach. Has there been any discussion of a yield sign which would satisfy the need to make people aware to slow down? But if it's not busy, it's not an immediate, more like a California stop where you're, slowing down, but you're continuing to move. So,
We certainly can discuss it at the public hearing for it.
thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Jim.
welcome. Okay. We're on 7. Do you want me to read it again?
Go right ahead.
Discuss the next step for the development of a trail at village parcel.
The Board of Selectmen, when we did the final recommendations from the Village Parcel Steering Committee, we discussed kind of those next action steps, and one of them was the development of a trail and kind of beautification of the areas. And so Mike Claus has been working with Steve Doe and coming up with a plan. And you'll remember that from our July town meeting, we had authorization to expend funds out of our land improvement reserve fund. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to take you through that. And we do have the village parcel plan that I could put up if you guys would like me to.
Sure.
But Mike, why don't you go ahead while I look for that?
So we're going to try to do a couple things to make the property a little more amenable to people who are just going through it. The gates right now are just some chain link that between two posts. So we'll fabricate a couple swinging gates like we've got at the highway department and put those at each end, so that emergency vehicles can get through there pretty quick, and it'll be safer for somebody we can put reflective material on the gates, so that at nighttime if somebody pulls in there they'll see the gate, and I think it just be, and then there'll be a sort of pedestrian walk-through spot, so we can keep the access to pedestrians only, and have it look a little bit nicer. So that's the entrance improvements we're going to make. At the North
That's
Street
on
entrances,
that's
we're
on
going
both
to
ends?
concentrate our work. Yeah, we'll put gates
Right.
on both ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the
Mike,
North,
could you
at the North
drive an
Street
emergency?
entrance,
Mike, could you drive an emergency vehicle over that road surface now?
yes. I mean, I rode it on my bike today, and just on my skinny tires. So
Yep.
I think it's in pretty good shape. And we'll go through, we've got the millings that we got off of Ocean Avenue in that last project, that are mixed in with a little bit of gravel. And we'll just take and back drag any low spots there, to make sure that the road's in good shape. I think it's in very good shape right now, but we obviously haven't had any rain
Yeah.
all summer. But we can tighten it up a little bit with our millings, and I'll go over it with Jay and make sure that he's okay with putting a fire truck through there.
Yeah, that certainly would cut down considerable time from one part of town to another if they could use that.
Mike, what about parking at the school street side? Or the Main Street side?
We haven't. So I haven't done a plan for parking at the school street side. I mean, we'd have to. That's a little bit. It's just a little hillier there, to get a spot in. We've got a good 10 vehicle spot on the North Street side, nice and flat and easy to get to and easy to build. We can look at doing something on the school street side. It just may take a bit more work to get it acceptable. But I have not looked at it yet.
Okay,
And it's thin up there too. We could do parallel parking on the roadside too if we want to try that. So there are other options if you want to get a few cars in on that side.
okay, good.
We'd have just move the gate in a little bit further in and just let cars park parallel to the dirt road.
So Mike, do you want to just take them through the plan real quick, starting at the North Street?
So Steve Doe took a look at what we've got for areas, and Werner shared with him, possible plans for development, the sort of the phasing that the committee has been looking at, where they'd likely build first. So he sort of said, well, let's not build a trail where you might build your first parcel. So he looked at, and he sketched out some areas that would be possible trails. And if you look at them, they're the black dotted areas. He thought you could put trails in the heavier black dotted areas, I think is what he's looked at. And of that, he chose just a little half-mile trail segment that's in the middle of the parcel that goes nicely through some wooded areas, that he thought would make a nice trail there. And we're going to try to build that first and see how it looks. And then if everybody likes that, we could go on and try to do some more trail work on that perimeter area.
So to be clear, for this project, we're talking about only the yellow area with the red outline. So we're looking at this trail system that would improve the current road bed and then add this loop, not all the other trails.
Correct.
And a parking area down here.
What's the black dotted area represent? I can't read it on the screen and I couldn't read it in my packet.
So there's some light,
The heavy,
light
yeah.
dot. The heavy black dot is, I think, where Steve said we could do other future trails.
Okay.
So that would be something we could develop. If everybody likes what we're doing and wants us to continue, he thinks that's probably where we could continue in the future.
I
And
think
the-
this is a great idea as long as we don't lose sight of, one of the reasons that we purchased this was to have some housing. You guys disappeared on me.
So we came up with some costs to do this. Public Works would do, all the construction work. We've got Jason Bollier, who will come in and so go along that main access road, pull out all that deadwood, chip that all out. And then he's got a little forestry skid steer, just a skid steer width that has a little mulcher blade in front of it. And he can go through and mulch that trail that Steve has laid out. And then Public Works can go behind that and just, clean it up, with our trimming equipment and make it look nice. And I think that would serve for a good walking path.
Hey, Mike, I've got a question. Would they be doing the entire length of the road as shown from North Street all the way over to school?
We would just be going over it and filling in any potholes in the gravel we saw. We wouldn't be building it to a standard like Gravelly Brook. I think it's just basically, I'd talk with Jay Everett, the fire chief, and say, Jay, can you get your equipment through here and make improvements that if he said, I'd like this or that, I think we can do that. And Scotty Langtang's on the fire department and does a lot of our road work with the loader. I think, Scotty pretty much can look at that road and tune it up to the point where he knows what a fire truck's going to be able to get through.
Right.
But these are things you can do in-house, Mike.
Yeah.
Great.
But it's the entire length of the road.
The entire length of the road should be passable for emergency vehicles. So that, we'll make sure that happens, but it will be a gravel surface.
Right.
Do you know what the length of that road is just off the top of your head?
1,000 feet,
What's that?
6,000 feet.
6,000, so a little over a mile.
Thereabouts.
Thank you. Well, I move that we expend the $12,600 to make these improvements.
So I did ask that you authorize us to at least go to 13,000 in case we need
Okay.
a buffer.
Isn't that what I said? 13,000?
That's what I heard.
Yep.
So,
It's getting late.
okay. I have a first.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on this?
I don't know if there's any public discussion. We also have in the audience, I know, a couple of Village Parcel Steering Committee members, and I did send the plan and the memo to them as well. I haven't heard any negative feedback, so just
there
wanted
any-
to make you aware.
Is there any hands up?
Oh, Jim's got his hand up. Either that or he didn't take it down the last time, but
Go ahead and recognize them.
he's still muted, but
He's gone.
yeah, he's in.
Can you hear me now?
Hey,
We can
Jim.
hear you.
Hey, real quick, I've never walked through there. How many acres is that parcel?
80 plus acres.
80 acres?
80 plus, yeah.
Okay, and right now it's pretty much just used for recreational purposes.
Correct.
I know this is a shot in the dark because I'm a hunter, but it would be nice, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to hear this, but it would be nice to think that there would be a thought of a designated time to allow youth hunting for a select group of kids or something. Just throwing that out there. that if it's a big enough area, that it would ever be a thought to entertain for a small period of time during hunting season. So
I don't think that it's close to that right now, but I'd take a bow in there or a shotgun. I wouldn't take a rifle in there.
no, I don't know. I would never suggest a rifle, and that's why I would recommend a youth where you have.
Yeah. Oh, now he's gone. He'll be back.
He'll be back.
But I have not misspoken to say that you can go in there as long as you are safe and use common sense to hunt or.
And I would remind people that some parts of the parcel are very close to residences.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And you have to be, what, 200 feet away from the house? Is
Yeah,
that
can you-
correct, or more?
I'm not a hunter, but I think
I
Can
think
you hear me?
it's close to
anybody
town.
who's a hunter should know how far they need to be away from a house.
Right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I was going to suggest if there was, if you guys ever entertained it and you want to have the discussion, it would be reasonable to have only designated areas that are far away from, those dense areas. So if anybody's in favor of talking to that, I'd in determining a short period of time to allow that to make residents aware that, this is a period where youth hunters or whatever is established, I also wouldn't want
Jim, did you lose connection for a minute? Because I did address that. You may not have heard me. So at this point, that entire property is open. It's public property. You can go hunting there.
Oh, it is,
But
okay.
my suggestion is, and I'm sure you would be safe and be smart. Just as you would on a 100-acre piece in the middle of the back part of town.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
use
that.
common sense. But yeah, I think that
Oh, absolutely,
hunting is
absolutely.
I don't hunt anymore, but I'm fully support the Second Amendment and hunting, and I don't have any plans, until they put houses on it to stop it in there.
I think you'd have to talk to the abutters. I don't think they'd be thrilled with that. I would.
Yeah, but Sheila, as it stands now, people can use it, and the thing is, hunting, people need to use common sense, just like driving a vehicle.
Right,
We got people we see every day who probably shouldn't be driving, but yet they are.
Ed, if I can, this is the last part, that as it moves forward, if it's allowed now, as it moves forward, and as that property gets reduced, that's what my suggestion is if it means that there's designated spots to allow the youth to go hunting, that's really it. And I know there's going to be people that would have a problem with that, but
Oh,
so
there
anyways,
people have a problem with hunting, in the back part of town where there aren't that many houses. There are people who have problems with firearms, period, because
Right.
they don't understand them. And
Right.
I'm not bringing this up for a topic of discussion or hate mail to come to the Board of Selectmen later. I'm just bringing it up as a general topic.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is obviously to inform people that, we shouldn't just think of these properties as walking and hiking. It should be multi-use. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen, at least, for me to say that. So
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we had a first, and did I hear a second on this?
I think it was I.
I think it was-
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'm gonna take a roll call. Sheila,
I.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye. Motion carries. Item 8, award recycling contracts with Eco Maine and Casella Waste Management. Hi Lori, how are you doing?
So Mike Claus is telling me he's having Zoom freeze.
Oh,
I seem to be back.
Are
If you
you
can hear me.
back?
Back. Yep.
There.
Mike, well,
But I
see,
haven't-
oh, there you are.
here's
There.
Mike.
Hopefully it won't go away again.
So you're up, Mike.
He's frozen.
Oh,
No,
there
he's
he-
moving.
Okay,
Are you?
you're on, Mike.
So recycling contracts, as we've gone through in the past, over the past year, we've decided to go back with recycling. The recycling committee has been working with EcoMaine and with Casella on getting this going again in January. We worked through the budget process, and these are the contracts. The Casella contract is fairly straightforward. It's exactly what they would have given us if we had continued recycling with this current contract. The new contract, where our added costs are for material processing, is with EcoMaine. And you know, those costs are what we expected them to be. The contract has been reviewed by the town attorney, and the town attorney just, you know, he understands. He says this contract is doable. He just wants to make sure everybody understands there are some financial implications for the town in the contract, including the contamination fee, which we've discussed, but and also there's a cost share if expenses for recycling processing go up for EcoMaine if the markets for recyclables crash. And then also there is a cost if we don't recycle to 15% minimum recycling rate. There's a possible penalty there. So there are some penalties involved that you guys should be, the selectmen should be aware of before they approve the contract. In speaking with EcoMaine and with the recycling committee, we don't think that any of these penalties are going to apply to us. You know, it's our goal to get that contamination rate down. And it's our goal to have a recycling rate significantly above 15%. You know, so we can't guarantee what our residents will do, but we have heard from our residents that they want to recycle and they want to recycle correctly. And so I think it's our job with Public Works and with the recycling committee to get people out there to recycle well and to get the program back on track. So I think that's what we were charged with doing, and this will allow us to do it.
Well, hopefully it will work well.
I got a couple of just easy questions, Mike. One of these where it says payment year, like on the third page, payment year, it says Dock Square and Bradbury at the top. We don't do Bradbury anymore, do we? Or are we going to?
No, they left that in there in case we did want to resume recycling somewhere in Cape Porpoise or Dock Square. They just left Bradbury's in there rather than leaving it as generic Cape Porpoise. But they basically said, if you put another container somewhere in Cape Porpoise or in Dock Square and want us to haul it, that will be the haul charge.
Okay.
So it's there if you wish to use it.
Okay. Then on page 3, we've got a thing that says that if they reject a load for any reason, for the reasons that are in the contract, not any reason, that we have to haul it away or we have to hire somebody to haul it away. Are we prepared? That means we gotta set up with somebody else to haul away.
Generally, is if essentially we allowed enough contamination that the load was completely non-recyclable, which is above over 26% contamination, I believe, they would have to take it over to the incinerator and dump it as trash, and we would pay a fee for them to do that. Above and beyond above and beyond the tipping fee and the processing fee, there'd be a transfer fee to get it over to the incinerator.
Okay.
So it's our goal not to have any trucks go up there. And I think we would work with Casella that if somebody was putting in that much trash in the recycling, you know, we would not have them do that, pick it up. You know, I think in talking with Casella and EcoMaine, Casella has not had those issues in the past, but they're worried about somebody just bringing a load of bad recycling in.
Okay. Simple questions.
Any more questions? Any hands up in the audience? No? Okay. Okay.
We should just promote
How you doing?
Jim,
I got
make
a
him a
lot- I got-
panelist.
I got a lot of questions. Hey, so with the recycling, what's the biggest contaminant?
Usually it would be food waste, plastic bags, and just general trash. Just people
Anything
just not, yeah, you know.
Right. So, I'm a firm believer of recycling, but does it make sense that we just do cardboard?
We've looked at that. I would say that would be something to come to one of our recycling committee meetings on Zoom, and you can talk about that for a long time. We've gone through in the whole process in looking at resuming recycling. We've looked at all those options, and that was not what the townspeople sort of came up with. What they wanted
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I understand that it's a pain in the ass if a truck brings the load. I'm familiar with EcoMaine, so I know that if they drop the load, it's a logistical nightmare to have to pick it all up and bring it, even if it's 500 feet over to the incinerator. It's still an overhead that they have to deal with at that point. So I understand what's involved in doing it. So hopefully people do the right thing.
Yes.
Thank you. Any more hands up? No hand? No? Okay. I would like to have, what's that?
I make a motion, we approve the contract.
Second.
Can I just say one thing before we take a vote?
Sure. You can say
This is
two
a-
things.
This is a lot of money. This is a lot of money. It's a tough year for us to begin with. But what happens if we start in January and then find out that, for the first 2 months, we're at 25% of not recyclables? People were putting the wrong stuff in, and so they're charging us more and more and more and more. Can we?
Mike, oh,
I'm
sorry,
asking-
Sheila.
Could set a sunset clause that if this doesn't work and it's costing the town X amount more dollars, then we stop it.
Well, we're gonna have to budget it
Not
for
in the
next
con-
year again,
That's not in the
Sheila.
contract. That's not in the contract.
Well, that's my point. If the town isn't going, I'm not against recycling, but my point is, this is a lot of extra money. And if the people in the town are not going to cooperate by putting out proper buckets, what is our alternative to that?
Don't do it the following year or
The alternative,
add up more money, more money to it. But
Sheila, they've got an audit program that if you've been to the meetings, you have, I think, where they presented, they have an audit program where if they'll be auditing people's recycling. I don't know how much, but when somebody is found to be a problem, they are no longer going to be, they'll get warnings, and then eventually they'll no longer be able to recycle.
Thank you.
That's in the process that the committee presented to us last year. It was a good.
I remember that.
Yeah, Casella doesn't want this, as Jim McMahon pointed out. It's a major pain for them to deal with it if they have to take it over to the incinerator. So I'm sure they're going to work with us to make sure that this is a success.
Okay.
and we're going to look at this next year and see how much of a success it
We
was.
have
It
a
probably
wonderful
will be good.
recycling committee, and they totally changed my mind about how I thought we should do this when we
It's a good
switched
committee.
from not doing it. So I want to give them all the kudos and put my faith as a member of this board in them, in believing that they can get people like myself who was recycling things he shouldn't have been, just because I didn't know. And I think that they're going to do a good job. And because if you take the time to sort all this out, you want to do it right. And I think most of the people in our community feel the same way.
So there's
All
an
right.
attachment A that's going to go to everybody in town, I believe, is what the committee said, that tells you
Yeah.
what you can and cannot do. Okay?
Right.
So
We have to come down and check your recycling, Sheila.
Sure.
any more questions? Hearing none, how about a motion? Who? Let him speak.
Like, do they have, are the Casella people just gonna refuse, like, if they open the barrel up and there's something that they get in there, shouldn't they just not take it?
Well, I think that's going to happen. Right, Mike?
Okay, I don't want to get in a pattern where we're like, and I know people are gonna hate me saying this, with the scarlet letters that get handed out in Kennebunk because, people get nasty notes. If they're gonna refuse it, they should just refuse it and not take it. I don't know.
I'm sure they have a plan.
Yeah. Is there any money that's saved? Is there any money that's saved just by having? If this doesn't work out, it would be nice to think if there's still people that want to recycle, that we have like an area of people who can just bring their stuff to. I know we did that in the past. We allow
Well, we
people.
do. We have Kennebunk.
Right, Kennebunk does it, but if Kennebunkport did it, if there was a hopper where people could bring the cardboard or whatever, and then Casella just picks it up from there. You know what I
So
mean?
Jim, just so you know, the solid waste committee did review all these options last year, and they did make a report to the board, and then it was discussed through the budget process. So they did look at all these options, the costs and the pros and cons, and this is what they decided to move forward with.
Okay, perfect. I'm just obviously Johnny come lately. in the meeting.
I'm not an expert on this, Jim, but if you feel as though you want to talk about it some more, you're welcome to reach out to me. I know you have my number and, we can talk about it, but I'm not the expert on this board by any stretch of the imagination. But as Lori said, we have, the recycling committee has thoroughly investigated this and reported back to the board. So I have a lot of confidence.
I would suggest that Jim goes back and gets the recording from the meeting where the solid waste committee made the presentation that covered everything that has just been brought up.
Well, I'm looking forward to bringing recycling back.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
So if we okay this contract tonight, are we hedged in for 5 years?
That's what it is, a 5-year contract.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a first. I'm waiting for a second.
Second.
I thought I was the second, but that's okay.
You were the first.
I was the first? No, I think Mike was the first.
All right, let's get the
Then
second.
I didn't
Does it
hear it.
matter?
It doesn't make any difference. I have a first
A
and
second.
I have a second. So any more discussion? Hearing none. Okay. I'm gonna take a roll call. Sheila,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries. Item 9, award the police cruiser bid. You want to bring the chief up? There he's coming up. There he is.
Good evening, everyone. So we went out to bid for a new police car. We mailed out for a Dodge Charger. We mailed out to our normal list, and we only had one response back. We're trading in the old Ford Explorer that's been recycled through. We're having a lot of problems with the frame on it, and it barely passed inspection. So it's time to go. And I am recommending that we accept the bid that was in from Lee Dodge that was in your packet.
So you have, this is an all-wheel drive, correct?
It is, sir. This is the first year they're coming out with an all-wheel drive, so I tried to get it.
Great, I was glad to see that, yeah. Any discussion on this?
Nope.
Okay,
Can I have a motion?
motion to accept the proposal from Lee Auto for a cruiser that will total $24,337.
And it's gonna be 31,000 total. That's to change over.
Okay,
Why
We
does
have-
my page read 40,155
Oh,
on
I'm-
the back?
the other page.
On the very back of it, Sheila.
Right, I can see that now.
Yeah, that's the, suggested price.
Right,
The
Oh,
page
so that's the
retail
prior is,
price.
the page
Yeah.
prior shows you the bid price. So it's got the MSRP price of 40,000 and then the
Okay.
selling price and then the trade allowance, et cetera.
Well, Chief, I'm gonna take you with me next time I have to buy a new vehicle.
so does she need to change her amount? She bid, she
24,
motioned $24,337.
That's fine because the changeover doesn't require due to its amount,
Okay,
Second.
selectmen approval, so we can just move forward with that.
okay, great. So any more discussion?
nope,
Okay, hearing none, we're gonna take a roll call. Sheila,
aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
I'll say aye, but next time we're getting a Tesla.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Other business, Sheila,
Nada.
Ed,
No, thank you.
Mike,
No, I have none.
Pat,
No, nothing.
okay, Alan has none either, and I bet Lori does.
Oh, we have
Tracy.
Tracy here.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
You-
So one item that I have under other business is Tracy has some good news and a request for acceptance of some grant funds.
Okay, so I recently became aware of and applied for a COVID-19 response grant application from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. And it's a $5,000 grant that I can use for anything to do with the election coming up. So that will help me cover payroll for my extra workers that I'll need. It's good for any supplies. It'll help pay for our new ballot box for the absentee ballots. And let's see what else. I have a
Signage.
whole list of things, and having some signs made up that tell people about absentee voting, as well as some signs for election day to direct the flow of traffic. It'll help me with storage containers for all the absentee ballots once they come back. And, just regular supplies like the pens that we'll need, any PPE that is not supplied by the state. So, and then rental of our extra voting machine for election day. So I'm very excited because it's an extra $5,000 that won't have to come out of my budget. And so I'm just asking that you accept it, and we will hopefully get the funds in about a week.
Well,
Nice
I move
job.
we accept the money.
Good job.
Thanks.
We need a motion.
I just said, I move we accept the $5,000.
Second,
I have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Sheila,
aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Hey,
You're
Tracy,
welcome.
before you leave, can you just go over one more time? I know you and I discussed this today at your office, but can you just tell the voters when the absentee ballots will be available? Because I know there's a lot of misinformation on the local news.
There
Or
is.
confusing information, perhaps
Yes,
that's better.
there's a lot of information that contradicts itself and everything, and there's a lot of people talking and generating false information. So we are expecting our absentee ballots to arrive from the state on October 5th. So at that point, we will be able to issue ballots out to people coming in, as well as start mailing out the 1,000-ish requests that we have so far. So if you have requested a ballot, you don't have to do anything else. As soon as we get the ballots, we will contact you or mail them. And if you don't have it by the middle of October, please call me and we will make other arrangements to get you a ballot. Just because there's so many going through the post office, I don't want to take a chance of any of them getting misplaced. So, so please, if you don't get it in a timely manner, give me a call, 967-1610.
Okay, I have a question, Tracy. I've had two people question me on how to fill out the ranked choice voting ballot. Can we put one name 3 times?
Don't.
No, no. It's only going to count the first vote. So don't bother doing that. Just one. If you want to vote for one person, just vote for them once.
So in other words, if the person that you voted for doesn't get 50%, you have no chance of a second
Right.
vote in.
Well, if you vote for somebody different, yes, but not the same person.
But you don't have to. You don't have.
No.
You can only vote. You can vote the old-fashioned way and just vote for one person if you like.
Right. On the
Right.
website, there is a link to the state's website where they explain ranked choice voting in detail and show examples of it. So if you go to our website, kennebunkportme.gov, and then go to the town clerk elections page, it'll link you right to the state. And they explain it perfectly well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Tracy, one last thing, and I promise this is it. Also on the news, we've all seen you're talking about, especially in the presidential election, ballots that won't be counted, ballots this, ballots that. All the ballots that you're going to count have to be received by your office by what date?
We have to have them at the polls by 8 p.m. on election night.
Thank
Anything after 8 p.m. on election night will not be counted. But can I just put a plug in that the earlier people can return them, the better it will be for my office, because there are only 3 of us and we're going to have to log in all those thousands or 1,200 ballots that are coming back. And if they all come back the week before, we're going to be working 24 hours a day trying to get everything done. So if people are so inclined, we would really appreciate getting the ballots back sooner in October rather than later. And we will have that ballot box out front.
You need any volunteers?
I do have a lot of people for election day, so I think I'm going to be good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Any other questions that I can dispel any myths or rumors? No. Okay, well, feel free. Anyone out there who has questions, please call me or stop in or email me, and I will answer everyone's questions as best I can.
There's
Thank
no
you.
hands up, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
All right.
Jim's
Okay.
gone.
Thank you.
thank you. I forget, did we take a vote on this yet? I think we did.
We did.
You did.
Okay. Lori, you have some
I was
more?
gonna say, take a vote on what?
To accept the money.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay, I've slept since then, I guess. I'm sorry.
So I have 2 other items. One is that Bill Case did contact me about whether the selectmen would be interested in selling or leasing the old town barn parcel on Beechwood. You'll remember that there was a request about pickleball courts in the past. And the selectmen said we would, do our best to move forward with that, through the budget process and see what we might be able to do. I think Bill is interested in doing that on a quicker time frame. And he is asking whether you would be willing to sell the land or lease it to someone for that purpose.
If we,
My feeling is this, with that, we still use it for storage of all the, a lot of equipment. And I don't think that would be a perfect spot for a pickleball court, but maybe somewhere along the line that we might be able to find a spot at the Parsons Field. I mean, it's fairly good size. Maybe it can go in the summer or the early spring where the ice skating rink is. I don't know. That's just a question.
If we were to do it, and I'm not necessarily in favor, wouldn't we have to send it out to the voters? Because that, I don't know how we acquired that land.
Yeah, we actually purchased the land, so it would require a town meeting vote for a long-term lease or sale.
I'm not really interested in discussing it at this point.
What about you, Mike?
I don't know enough about the parcel. I just don't.
It's the old town barn. Do you know where that is?
I've been up there, yeah.
On Beechwood Avenue?
Yeah, but I just don't. I don't have a one way or the other. I think maybe if do we know what, is it for a pickleball court? Is that what it's for?
That's what he says.
But he's asked,
Okay.
That is what he has asked about in the past, yes.
So
But if-
what about you, Pat?
Well, this piece of property has been used for multiple purposes in the past. And it's also an area where you gather everything together if you're doing an emergency crisis kind of situation. So it's been used for many things. And have we no more need for that? I think we still have a need. So I don't think we need to give up the property right now.
Yeah, I agree with Pat. In fact, one of the things that we did with it was they recycled old lobster traps there one time. Do you remember that, Alan?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I can't remember who did it, if it was Gulf of Maine Research, Lobstermen's Association or what, but yeah, they actually collected them all there and they crushed them and recycled them.
So we're actually using the property on an ongoing basis then?
Well, we're using the building. We store a lot of equipment in there. Where if you get rid of that piece of property, where you're going to store the equipment? You know,
Well, like,
equipment's-
That's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
So Sheila, what about you?
I agree with the fact that they still use it, that the town still uses it, just says no.
I
once
mean,
we
we could-
sell it, it's gone. And how much money
We're-
in the,
we're
in
not-
the,
Sell it. We're not
Yeah.
going to sell.
No.
And as far as leasing goes, you know, we could lease it, but where are we going to put the equipment? I think it's a no.
So we could ask Carol later on or whatever, what she thinks about if she thought that Parsons Field might be able to be used at somewhere, some part of the field for a pickleball court. What do you think about that, Laurie? Is that something that we could talk about?
Yeah, I can talk to Carol about it. One of the things about the Parsons Field too is we have a land and conservation grant that we got on it years ago through the state of Maine, later Land and Water Conservation, and that has some requirements on it about development of the land. So I'm not sure how a pickleball court would be seen by them, but let me talk to her further about it.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
I have one more thing. So remember we were having the 4x2 meetings, we call them, 4 organizations, 3 towns and an RSU, and we had 2 members from each board meet to just have, you know, better communications. And so we are looking at September 30th to have our first post-COVID meeting or inter-COVID, I don't know what we call that, this time period. And so it's normally been the chair and then 1 member of the board. So September 30th at 5 p.m. Alan, I think you said that you would be available.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to see what other selectmen you guys want to have represent the board for that.
So this is going to be a Zoom meeting, correct?
It's going to be a Zoom meeting.
I found out today, just before this meeting, I have a Zone G Lobster Council meeting at 4 o'clock, a Zoom meeting. So I don't think I'll be out of that in time. They're going to discuss the new whale rules, and I think that'll
And I
take some
haven't
time.
engaged,
I can do it.
Okay, so we'll schedule that and I'll send you guys the invite.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okey dokey.
I move the warrants.
I have a motion.
Move to the treasurer's warrant.
Second,
I have a first and second. Sheila,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Pat,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries. I
Move to adjourn.
Second.
First, and second. Excuse me. Sheila,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye, motion carries. You guys
Good
have a
work,
great-
guys. You guys had a long night.
We had a long night.
I'm gonna go home and eat supper.
Yeah.
I am home and I'm gonna eat some.